be.
Welcome back, Jammers. We're going to talk about body issues. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you're thinking. It's Jason here with Mandy and Adrian. Let's get started.
I mean, this one can get really fucking in depth.
No,
so.
fucking get it.
Okay, so my next question is if we feel so strongly about this as adults, and even though we are LGBTQ, how do LGBTQ kids deal with this?
And this is a really tough topic because I can speak from speaking from my experience. I used to experience the same kind of targeting that you would go through, Mandy, the very female targeting, and in a time that I didn't know who I was. So for lack of better phrasing and terms, I'm going to say when I was identifying as a woman, I was going through the same sort of targeting ads, and because I was compensating for a lot more than I knew I was compensating for, it was absolutely like $200 of makeup here and there just fucking because to get to the most conventional standard of attractiveness, fucking push-up bras, scampy clothing, and all of the likes of what makes a woman, which for me made it that much harder to come out after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were so deep diving into that part of you that when it was like, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm different.
Yeah,
so the backpedal up that slope again.
Going from super hyper feminine to who I am now, which is trans masculine. I'm leaning more non-binary because the more I learn about gender, the more gender is a giant fucking joke. But for the cis people out there that can't wrap their heads around gender theory, I'm a dude.
Well, if I had to describe you, I would say a male, or I would say a transgendered male non-binary.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you like the cutesy shit.
I do. I love traditionally femme things.
Right. And you like the masculine stuff.
Right.
I feel like I'm David Bowie, but I was born with a vagina instead.
Yeah. No, I see that. I think you pass more than you think you do. But being able to go into more femme or more masculine, I think is awesome. I kind of delve into that some. My whole experience with being gay and that kind of thing has been just really keep it to yourself, don't talk about it, don't come out.
I think with you, like Adrian went and delved into and overcompensated with the femininity. You did it with the masculinity.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, hardcore, sports, being extremely good at sports, one of the top players on your teams,
right.
To a college scholarship, to Marines, and just like even after the Marines, just in general, just this, okay, I've got to portray this masculinity, guy thing, because
very true.
And that happens a lot. I mean, it even happens with trans women. I don't know how many trans women I can tell you that didn't accept their transition until after military service. So it's, and I think it's the same reason that I at one point dwelled so hard into sex work, which is trying to use my hyper-femininity for something since I was born in the body. And I think it's the same for a lot of trans women, is they're trying to not realize they're trans because you can be LGB and be accepted in a lot of places, even within the queer communities, there's still a lot of discourse when it comes to trans people, and you see it with trans exclusionary radical feminists. You don't know the woman experience because you were born a man, which is not true, but it makes it worse even. So, especially for trans women, you're seen more of as a pervert than anything. It's more acceptable to be born female and be transgender.
Well, right, because what's the saying? Oh, she's just a tomboy.
Mm-hmm.
It's
okay to be masculine.
He is a sissy boy. If he portrays any kind of femininity, he's a sissy boy, whereas she's a tomboy.
Well, it's kind of funny that the trans people go through that, and then the bi people get the same bit. So it's like there's this inner turmoil within the LGBTQ community.
There is.
Right, because with bi people, it's you can't be bi. You're one or the other.
I've seen too many accounts of lesbians and gay people not wanting to date bisexuals because they think bisexuality is immediately a gateway into cheating, which is just stupid, but
yeah, I mean that happens within any kind of sexual orientation.
Right,
I mean,
it doesn't matter.
Shit people are shit people.
True.
But I mean, I get how hard it is. I can't personally say that I've experienced either side. But I can see the struggles that people go through, and it's not right. And I think more people that see that, and everyone deserves basic human decency. Stand up for people. Even if you don't necessarily agree with what that person's doing, no one deserves to be bullied.
Well,
no one deserves to be hurt. Right. Stand up for people.
It's not going to affect your life at all.
Exactly.
It doesn't hurt your life at all the way another person lives their life.
Right.
There is zero impact on your life.
No. There's impact in their life, but it's their personal shit to deal with that they refuse to deal with. It confuses their small, tiny little brains. So they get super, super defensive and are like, what the fuck? You can't do that because I've never thought of it.
Yeah.
Golly.
Or I've thought of it and repressed it. So, I mean...
Which, in all of this, I mean, if the young LGBTQ community, kids in the community see all of this infighting and argument and not acceptance within the community itself, they're already going through so much from their parents or their friends or just general people. They're gonna get this being excluded because of a certain thing that they're going through from their own community.
True.
From a community
it's like we need to be inclusive. We need to be accepted by everyone else. Well, we don't agree with this one in our own community.
Right. And so I can understand how those kids feel like, okay, there's absolutely no group that I can be a part of. I can't fit in with anyone. So why am I even here? I think that's why there's a high rate of suicide among LGBTQ community kids, is because, especially with the trans kids, they won't accept me. Yeah. So what's even going on? And True. Why am I even here? And just delve into that depression even more.
I think that's why I'm grateful for the newer generations, because the newer generations are the ones seeing an end to that bullshittery. It is elder queers that you are seeing you're not allowed to be trans in. But on the one hand, I hate it because it's bullshit and they should be more accepting. But on the other, I kind of understand it from a, let's say, elder lesbian point of view or even an elder drag queen point of view, because they had to live life pretending to be cis because really all they wanted was acceptance for being gay, at the very least.
It was illegal. At one time, being gay or a lesbian was illegal.
Sodomy. It wasn't that long ago either. If you were walking down the street and you were deemed to be wearing the clothes of the other gender, you'd be taken to jail.
Yeah,
so
and it's because I watched a documentary on Netflix of a couple that they lived together, but they presented themselves as friends. And they were in their 60s or 70s when they came out to their families because it was just so frowned upon, and they lived through a time where you could literally go to jail for being that way, and everything was hidden. You if you were caught at certain places, like certain gay bars or whatever, you went to jail. It's ridiculous.
Which is absolutely targeting, arresting, because
I find it funny.
You know it's a gay bar.
I find it funny that the elder gays have problems with certain gays, and it's the closed-minded thinking that you see from the elder politicians too.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how it crosses the realm.
Yes, well, and it's a matter of what you were taught.
Well, right, but you have these elders, be it political parties or LGBTQ or whatever. You have these elders that are teaching their kids, and their kids are teaching their kids, and their kids are teaching their kids, and so that hate is keeps getting passed down.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can't tell someone why you hate this group of people, just that you do. Oh, well, my grandparents or my parents. Well, but what does that have to do with you?
Well, it's funny how liking the same sex is accepted in a lot of this community, and I guess it stems from I think the older that you get, the more absurd it seems to want to change who you are. And I think there's also a lot of fuel to the flame when it comes to sciences that they didn't learn as far as hormone replacement.
True. I think was the saying for dogs. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It kind of just falls into humans as well.
Well, you don't want to get out of your
comfort zone.
Zone.
People don't like change.
Exactly. So I mean, I get it, but if you're talking about progress, and if you're a big proponent of progress, you don't get progress by staying the same.
I mean, that's also why the non-binary movement is so absurd to a lot of people. How dare you not pick one or the other? Which I personally think is the most absurd, considering Judaism, the roots of Christianity, has 6 genders. 6 of them. 6. 6 whole ass genders. Their own separate ass genders. 6.
Do you know those genders?
No, not off the top of my head.
Oh.
I can look it up.
That's just unfortunate. I was just on the edge, ready to just, and laid out with nothing. So, what are we going to do?
So, gender in Judaism, the terms. A zakar. This term is derived from the word for memory, and refers to the belief that the man carried the name and identity of the family. Nikava. This term is derived from the word for a crevice, and probably refers to a vaginal opening. Androgynous. A person who has both, quote, male and, quote, female sexual characteristics. A tum-tum. A person whose sexual characteristics are indeterminate or obscured. An Aelonit, I probably butchered that one, but that is a female who does not develop at puberty and is infertile. And a Ceres, a male who does not develop at puberty and or subsequently has their sexual organs removed.
By who?
Mm-hmm.
Like aliens?
Probably the local medicine man. I don't know.
Maybe he fucked up and got castrated, or he wanted to be, or they wanted to be castrated, so...
Oh, yeah. Eunuch.
There are people out there that keep their balls and not their shaft, so
And
I
there's
don't
people
know.
who keep the shaft and not the balls.
Is there really? I've seen one of these things. I have not seen the other.
We're going to go hunting.
Yeah, we are.
I'm going to get me one of those.
But anyway, back on topic.
What was the topic?
So as my experiences affect me as I transitioned, the body image issues only get more complex and obscured.
Oh, I bet.
Because it happens within the queer community too. Because I have cis people telling me how I should look, and then I have queer people telling me how I should look.
Interesting.
So, if you didn't know already, a lot of the androgynous and non-binary communities within the queer communities focus a lot on a very specific body type. It is, unfortunately, white, thin, and completely flat. I cannot be these things. I cannot get to these body goals that are laid out in front of me, and I can only imagine, at least from my experience, I would say a lot of this comes from CGI Eastern media.
Why would they label themselves as those things, though?
They don't label themselves as those things, they just happen to be those things. They all look like pretty boys with a touch of femininity.
Fanboys.
Well, no, I get it, but that has to be non-binary if you are not those things.
If you do not look 110% completely androgynous, you are not non-binary, which means AMABs, men, assigned male at birth, get shat on because they look too masculine, or assigned females at birth get shat on because they look too feminine.
This goes back to your whole...
My whole...
No, stop. It goes back to what you started with. What did we start out this podcast with? Beauty standards in men. Beauty standards in women. Beauty standards across the board.
Gotcha.
So even androgyny at fucking...
Has a standard.
2021, 2020, whenever the fuck this podcast is going to be released.
No,
we
cut all that out.
We still have... beauty standards for everyone, even the third gender that most people don't even recognize. So it's already started within the queer community. Before the queer community can get a foot on, the beauty standards have started.
I disagree with you.
Yeah?
There's no third gender.
There is.
You're right. There's fourths and fifths and sixths. Is that where you were going?
Yes.
You son of a bitch.
Okay,
How dare
and
you?
sevenths and infinity, because gender is literally just...
whatever I want to be.
Gender is whatever you make of it. It's
Exactly.
Gender is
literally a construct.
Here's my deal. You have an innie or an outie. Do you
Wait, are we talking about the pee-pee?
Do you help
Yes.
do you help the person get pregnant, or do you become pregnant?
So the Sims 4 update, I love it because you can choose, unfortunately, in Western society, either gender, male or female, and you can, under these things, choose whether or not you can stand to pee, or if you can get pregnant or get someone else pregnant, and it doesn't have to directly line up with your genitalia.
Okay.
That is the most progressive thing I've seen in video games thus far, so...
Okay.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we touched on your transition into masculinity, and you made a comment earlier about diving into femininity. Was it hard for you to do that, coming from the masculine background?
It's tough because there's not a lot of me that's femme.
Oh, I know.
That's fair. But the parts
it's
that are, you
fine,
should be
but
able to embrace.
Right, you should be able to, but people don't look at me and go, you can't do that.
You have your nails painted. You have your
Yes.
nails done now. And before you came out to me and before Adrian and when we first got married, I had always asked you to let me paint your nails or to go get your nails done with me. You can get a manicure, get them painted clear. And you were like, no, I'm not doing that. No. And
that repression.
And then, how many months ago, Adrian? 3 months, 4 months ago? When did we start going to get our nails
Oh,
done?
fuck all if I know.
We went to get our nails done, and you, Jason, not only did you come with us, but you started out with the manicure. Then you started out with just the nail polish, and then you actually started getting them dipped.
Right.
And I think that's the most femme that you've gotten. But in the way you act and come across sometimes, you either consciously or subconsciously let that slip out more. So you do, in some of your mannerisms, you do come across as femme.
Well, I think that's the worst part about Western society is that even our actions are gendered.
Yes, it really is.
Pretty much.
Even the way we display is gendered. I don't think the way that I sit or the way that I talk or just the way I don't think, and this is also a problem that happens, niceness is seen as being feminine.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
Is it really?
Yes.
I am so feminine. I take everything I said back.
If you, in Western society, if you are polite, the more likely
you're not
you are
polite.
to get...
You just have an outgoing personality. You're not polite.
I am polite, and I am nice.
That screams polite and nice with that assertive tone.
Right?
Told you. I don't know why you don't agree with me already.
Fuck.
But you're right. It does. It's your mannerisms are looked upon, and they're that's a male mannerism.
I have had people gender me correctly until I responded to them, and then they were like, "Oh wait, you must be a lady." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You had it right the first time. Thanks."
Which is surprising. Your voice is...
My voice is mousy. Don't lie to me.
Well, sometimes it's mousy. It depends on your excitability. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not off, am I, Mandy?
No, he has a deep...
Most of the time, your voice is pretty deep.
Yeah, you have a deep voice.
Took a hot minute to get there.
Like he said, you
too.
still have times where it does get high, it does get mousy.
If I'm scared, it'll go up. If I think I need to be polite to someone, it'll go up.
If your ass gets excited, it goes to the roof.
Oh, you
Let's
know,
stop being
if I get
ridiculous.
excited, then I feel like everyone's voice should go up 8 octaves, but whatever.
But I don't think that a voice should be tied to
What genitals you're packing? Because that's what people see gender as.
I know
It should
women
be.
who have really deep voices, and I know men who have higher pitched voices. And just by going off of, just like if they talk to someone on the phone or talk to someone that they're not directly seeing at the time, they will be called sir or ma'am. And then whenever they either are corrected or see them, oh, I'm sorry. And it's...
That seems like a game show of some kind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's right to gender someone based on a voice, because people have high voices, people have low voices.
Absolutely.
Duncan Trussell sounds like a 40-year-old lesbian. This is from his words, even. This is from his mouth.
Well, no, I don't disagree with you. I agree with you. I mean,
this is he has said this himself.
When you see this person, you don't.
Oh my god, the voice doesn't match, but it's so
equal
delightful.
That voice. Yeah, you're like.
But a
that
lot of
doesn't
people do
match.
that. A lot of people do that. So I don't think it's necessarily right, or you should base your opinion of a gender on a voice.
Right. I think so. It's also another phenomenon I've noticed is that when someone misgenders a cis person, the person that misgenders them is very quick to apologize. But if someone misgenders a trans person and the trans person tries to correct them, suddenly then it's a big deal. And I'm still on the end of how are these people knowing? Like, cis people will get all up in arms if you gender them wrong. But then trans people aren't allowed to do the same thing.
Most.
Yes.
Yeah, most. Now, I've been misgendered when I have long hair, surprisingly, which makes very little sense to me in my mind because I don't look at my frame and go, woman. Even with my long hair from the back. I mean, I know I have a nice ass.
Okay, but from the back.
I don't
But from the back.
I still wouldn't see it though, right? I mean,
I kind of see it.
Do you?
A little bit.
Okay,
slender booty.
so maybe. But nonetheless, I don't turn around and go, what the fuck's your problem?
But it is only because humans in Western society are absolutely brain coded to immediately go, long hair, woman.
That is, okay, true. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, right, because look at the people from like Norway.
Vikings?
Well, yes, but Norwegians, which is where the Vikings came from. But they culturally have always had long hair and braids. And I wouldn't look at a guy with the long hair that's Norwegian and go, for a second, that's a woman. I go, that's a hot looking guy. But, and you also have very masculine women from there that you don't go, oh my God, that she's a lesbian because she's got muscles.
I mean, okay, so disclosure, almost every cis dude on the planet absolutely goes, that's a lesbian because she has muscles, but...
Well, no. Over here, they do.
Okay, that's fair.
But you shouldn't. My point is you shouldn't because you don't know culturally where someone comes from.
No, you don't, and you clearly ain't watching porn because there's a whole thing of porn where there's muscled up women
So hot.
that are just women
Like,
and getting banged by
goddamn.
dudes. So
That's just what they like. They like going to the gym and deadlifting
Right.
300 pounds.
hell, why not?
Step on me.
But yes, I agree. I think that when's enough? If me being who I am is not affecting you, then what the hell does it matter to you what I am doing or who I am? Just like it doesn't matter to me what the hell you're doing as long as it's, over 18 and consensual, or do you as long as it's not going to interfere with me and the way I live. I don't care what you do. And it's probably naivety to think this way or whatever.
It's really not.
But it's
not.
just common decency. Who the fuck cares?
No, because they'll angle it either politically or religiously. That's all it is.
No, I can see it because that's a lot of what I hear from a lot of Christians that I know is love the person, hate the sin. Well, and then you're like, well, what gives you the right to name it a sin? And they're like, well, in the Bible, it's a sin. Well,
Can you prove it?
they go to this, man should not lie with men, but you can go and a couple verses up, couple verses down. It says something completely different.
There are actually theories that was not a statement towards queers, but more of a statement towards pedophilia. I don't know what the Jewish script is, but I've seen a couple of articles that were like, no, this word means man, and this word means boy.
Well, right, because my whole deal is, if it was originally written in Latin,
Or it was about taxes. There's a lot of shit out there.
Whatever. Yeah. And you had, even if you had scholars translating this, A, who knows if they got a word right or wrong? B, how do you know they didn't put in what they wanted to put in?
Oh, absolutely.
So...
Well, we also can't pretend like social context doesn't matter. Like, there could be things happening back then that are different now. Like, I don't know. it sucks to even theorize this because it's fucked up, but maybe being gay would be frowned upon if you have a low population density and we actually really, really, really need to make babies or we're gonna fucking die.
Right.
That's a little bit of a different scenario.
Right.
Not great, doesn't make it better.
Well, and back then it would make sense kind of for it to be man and boy, because back then you had a lot of pedophilia.
So much.
So, I mean, that would make sense that it being that.
Let's not pretend the Spartans didn't bring young boys in for training.
That's exactly
do things and stuff.
The boy in training had to live with their mentor, and that was part of their training.
God.
100% it was.
Rounding back around. So how do body image issues and this stuff affect trans youth? I would have to say for me personally, it's doing a world of damage. Because part of me is trying to adhere to female beauty standards. Another part of me wants to adhere to male standards because I know that's more of my goal. Like, a bit of me that's thinking, just detransition. You looked better as a woman. And then another part of me that's like, all right, reach these male body goals, even though I know they're literally impossible for me. And I just wonder how many other trans youth feel the same way. Like, because trans women can never meet that petite frame, that super busty chest and wide hips without going through so many surgeries that shouldn't be necessary for them to be seen as who they are.
Yeah, they go through the feminizing surgeries to make them more femme.
And that's not fair for them. And it's the same with trans men. We shouldn't have to have top surgery to just be fucking respected. It shouldn't have to be this way. We shouldn't have to, and this is very, very poor phrasing, and forgive me for the rest of the trans men out there, mutilate their genitalia to have a penis to be accepted as male.
Well, and my whole deal with the top surgery is you have trans males working their asses off to save money to have top surgery to be included in male society.
10K, y'all.
But you have obese men with bigger tits than I have, outside shirtless, sitting on their ass, with them flopping in the wind.
It's fine for you to be a fat dude. But why is your being a fat dude more important than me being able to be topless and comfortable?
Right. And so that's my issue with that is, and my issue even goes even farther where why can't I be topless outside and it be frowned upon? If Billy Bob over here has bigger tits than I have, why can't I be topless and not be gawked at, not be catcalled, not be stared at, not have cops called on me for indecent exposure or whatever?
Even catcalling and gawking and whatever. I mean, cis men just happen to be more bold in that area because that's the generation we've raised. But I don't think it should be in any of the sense illegal, because that's like saying that your cis woman neighbor isn't watching your cis dude mowing the lawn shirtless, because that absolutely happens. Mm-hmm. But they should be granted the same rights of toplessness.
Yeah. Well, and also,
a nip's a nip. There's no difference.
And what makes a I will say butch lesbian woman any more feminine, not feminine, because their goal is not to be feminine, than a trans woman? Why is a butch lesbian woman more acceptable as femininity than a trans woman? And why do they have to go through all this stuff?
Because penis immediately means masculinity, and for some reason, as I said before, in the Western society, being masculine is much, much more accepted than being feminine.
Well, right, because femininity equals weakness.
Yeah, it's seen as weak and fragile and just, it's, it doesn't make any sense considering even if you want to theorize fucking prehistoric days, someone still had to be there to take care of things, which still takes a great deal of strength, or else the men would have been doing it too. So...
Well, I mean, you get that even in movies, comedies and all of that.
Well, we forget that women were also hunter gatherers.
Well, right. And then there were also men who cooked, who sewed, who you have to have a equal part of things. You have to. That's like the whole thing now is with teaching boys that being outside and sports and hunting and all of that
G.I. Joes and violence
is manly, but being in there taking care of the house or cooking babies, that sort of thing, is feminine, and that it's frowned upon. And then it comes back to, well, you're teaching girls that that's for boys and not them, and they should be in the house.
I still know people that won't let their boys have baby dolls because, like, they don't want them to be good dads.
Well, right, because
exactly right.
That's the argument that they're giving the dads that don't want that. That's the argument now. So you see less and less of that, but it still happens. And well, so to bring it back around to the trans youth, they are kind of stuck between a crossroads, right?
So I want to end it on a pretty controversial note. You see a rise in trans youth right now. If you're a parent, you should probably start looking at yourself and what you are doing and saying to maybe give your child social dysphoria. Because I know for a fact, had I not been told a lot of the girls can't do XYZ things, but boys can, I would probably not be necessarily who I am today. Which, I am who I am. I'm proud of it. I'm grateful for it. But maybe I wouldn't have had to be if I had given some encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting view.
Well, also,
social dysphoria exists.
Well, also, and as a, it also goes for like just regular gender roles for, women do this, men do that. I too am grateful for my experiences, and I love who I am today, but being told I couldn't play with boys, who by the way were my cousins, because that's all I had growing up to play with, I couldn't play with boys because if I played with boys, I'd grow up to be a slut. I would be pregnant at 14 because all I did was play with boys.
There's a direct correlation between that. I don't know if you realize this, but most women that play with boys are teenage moms. I'm just being a sarcastic asshole.
Yes, I know.
Most girls that play with boys are usually the ones more wary of boys. So
Exactly.
They know their shit.
Exactly. And because I had that experience and went through that, my whole main goal was I'm not going to do things because I don't want my life to turn out to be this way. I saw that daily. And, but my female cousins that, didn't have to go through what I went through and weren't raised like I was raised, they were still told if you play with boys, you'll end up, knocked up at 14 and all that.
That's right, barefoot.
But they didn't have that. Growing up with boys, didn't have the knowledge that boys, are the way they are. Especially in that age, they did end up teenagers and pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a parent, don't give your child social dysphoria by telling them they can't do XYZ things because they're this gender and they have to do XYZ things because they're that gender, because that will take a toll on them.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you're female, it doesn't matter if you're male, it doesn't matter if you're LGBTQ, it doesn't matter if you're trans. To put your stuff onto someone else is really shitty.
I mean, we created the non-binary thing, and it's not a bad thing. I think it's a great thing, but it's absolutely a generation of people saying enough is enough with these dumb ass gender roles. It's time to grow up.
I see that. What are we talking about next time?
We
All
had
right.
something earlier. What was it? Fuck.
Next time we're going to talk about blank. Thanks for jamming with us this time. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.